I want to talk about my experience and relationship with faith. So, to preface, this video is not supposed to be me imposing, my beliefs or questioning anything. Really, just to talk about this experience that I've had throughout these past couple of years. So, I grew up in a secular household, so we didn't practice religion. But at the same time, I was raised in like this Christian church daycare, Lindenwood Christian Church. Me and my sister and I were both raised there, like just during the day, and we'd come home, obviously. And so that was kind of a unique experience in the sense that while we were there, we were being taught like teachings of the Bible, verses, all these things. But at home, we didn't go to church on Sundays. Our parents didn't, talk to us about it. So it was just kind of this thing, almost like school now for us, basically. We would just go there, learn a couple of verses, like read Genesis, Matthews, and stuff like that. And that would be it, right? So I did that for about 4 to 5 years in my childhood. And after that, when I went to school, we didn't go back to that daycare, obviously. So that was kind of the end of the journey. So I've always been exposed to Christianity, but never really deeply connected it like many other like devout Christians. So recently, in this past year and a half or so, my friends have kind of like encouraged me to come back to the church, which initially I came back just because they told me there was like basketball there. So I was like, oh, that's like, I like basketball, so that's like a cool thing I can do on Friday nights. But eventually, like, it felt very special in the sense that it was almost like this full circle moment where like this Christianity and God, they were kind of like bringing me back almost. I just didn't know it. Like they always had a plan for me. And so being in that environment, surrounded with my friends, it was it's very cliche to say this, but it was a very eye-opening experience. Because before that, I kind of had this negative perception of Christianity since I had been not really like understanding it, that it was just some southern exclusive, like kind of didn't like outsider things. And that was my experience with Christianity for a while, just because previously whenever I'd gone to some churches, I'd gone a few times before, and whenever I would have like questions about the existence of God and knowing that Christianity is the truth, like when I would ask those questions, they were batted down. It was just like, how dare you, like basically just completely negating any questions that I had, like just saying that they weren't right, you can't ask those questions. For the first time at these Friday night church sessions, maybe it was because I was more comfortable with my friends being there, but it felt like I was able to ask these questions and be challenged, but at the same time not feel discouraged and afraid of asking these questions. And yeah, so some of the questions I had was just like, how can people be so believing in this one, I don't want to say, it's basically like an abstract thought almost, because it's not a tangible thing, or you don't really, like, God isn't your friend that lives with you. Like, literally, he's not in the house physically with you. It's more of spiritually, right? He lives with you spiritually. So I was just like, I don't even know if I believe in anything this much that they're preaching about God. And so I started, like the only way I could, instead of just questioning, I have to have some basis on what I'm questioning. So to kind of better understand what they were thinking, I started turning to their source of faith, the Bible. And as I was reading, there was this one verse in particular, John 14:6. It says, like, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so basically, Jesus is proclaiming that he's the messenger to God and he is the truth, right? And so when I read that, I was like, how can one religion and one person claim to be the absolute truth, right? How can you claim that Christianity is the truth? Because in a sense, if you are the truth, shouldn't this truth be inherent among everybody? Like, I feel like we're all born knowing, oh, this is morally wrong, this is morally right, committing crimes is wrong, right? We all know that. But when we're born, we're not all exposed to Christianity. Like, yes, it's accessible, but hypothetically, like if you have no experience or you don't know the existence of the Bible or anything or any of its teachings, and you never encounter that, how in your life are you able to discover and know what that feeling of Christianity and the truth is? And so through that, I just didn't, that was what was hard for me to wrap my mind around, because a lot of the testimonies that I heard as well being given at the church about like how they found God or why they started becoming a believer, it was based on like they experienced some low point in their life, and then it was at that point that they got a sign from God or something like that, and that was what turned them. That was a turning point for them. And so my question was like, again, hypothetically, if somebody's not exposed to these teachings or even like the name, Jesus, God, and all these things, it's like, how can I associate certain experiences that I live with God, right? Like, how do I know and in that moment, I knew that was a sign from God that he was calling to me, and that's when I believed in his existence. Like, how do you find those things without exposure to them, right? You don't have to learn morally what's right and wrong, but you have to devote yourself to learning about God and Christianity and religion. And these questions are questions, honestly, that I still have. But I guess one thing that like really changed my thought as well was like my youth pastor. He was telling me like sometimes the questions are what lead you to your own truth. Like the path to finding what's true to you is the part of religion that like I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but like asking these questions is a sign that God is like asking you to come closer to him. And it's when you finally like think of these questions and try to seek the truth that actually you find the truth. And the truth is seeking questions, asking questions. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but in my head it makes sense. And so like a lot of these questions I still have, honestly, but at the same time I've kind of thought about like broader questions relating to how religion has, beyond Christianity, how religion itself has just been like so constant and enduring throughout human history, right? Each generation, it feels like there's not even within each generation, like every 10 years you feel like this massive culture, trend, shift, change, all these things, right? Like 100 years ago, it's completely different from now. But religion has been something that stood the entire human history, the entire test of time. And I was wondering like, so there must be something about religion that's inherently desirable or like appealing enough to people for everyone in history to like want to connect with, or a lot of people they want to seek and they want to practice something that they want to devote. Even some people, they don't want to devote their whole lives to it. And so I was thinking like I remember we watched this one video about how like when you're born, your parents, your parents, like your mom and your dad, are your first kind of God, because they're like your guardian. They're who you look up to. They're who you kind of follow. And so I started thinking that maybe because of this early exposure to having parents and having people protect you, people itself, like when you grow beyond childhood and you go live independently, maybe there's an innate desire or an inherent desire for people to also seek religion and protection in other things. And that is religion, right? Religion, regardless of what it is, they always tell you that there are greater beings beyond yourself, and there are greater beings beyond you who can protect you in a sense, or like have a plan for you. And that kind of is back relating to your parents, right? Because when you're a child, you're kind of like, I guess you're scared. You have a lot of fears. Like when you think there are monsters under your bed, you go find your mom and your dad to check for you, right? And in the same way, religion kind of does that, in the sense that like it's human nature to not be sure of your future, to be a little bit fearful of death. But having that, like believing in religion and of being greater than yourself, gives you comfort to know that this God, this greater being, has a plan for me and will protect me from the future. And I know as long as I do my part, he will also protect me and save me. And so I think that's my hypothesis right now, or at least my current understanding of maybe why religion is so appealing. But at the same time, it's still a journey that I'm on, an experience that I'm trying to live through myself. So I'm only 17 years old, right? So, and I've only been kind of thinking about these questions for the past 2 years. And so I hope, and even now, like, I don't think I've ever been as passionate about, like, thinking about something as religion. So, like, it kind of answers my question about why it's so appealing, right? Like, even I'm, like, for a long time, like, almost like, I don't say non-believer, but not really understanding what about religion was so appealing. Now, even I'm, like, it has me thinking at night sometimes. And beyond that, I think this whole, like, religion for me, I don't know if it serves, I feel like it serves a purpose for everybody, but that purpose is different. Like what value it provides to you. Like it could take you out of this dark hole of, alcohol abuse and drug abuse that you're in. But for other people, they don't have to hit rock bottom. They could just like change the way that they think and they live. And for me, that's what it's done. It's changed the way that of my thinking completely. Like now my thinking is like I'm committed to asking questions and asking like why or how and all these things. Like no longer just like comfortable living, but like wanting to experience things and be able to question things. And in the process of trying to answer these questions, like just, I guess, okay, let me rephrase that. Like asking questions that maybe don't have definitive answers to, but in asking these questions already give me fulfillment. And, I really wanted to make this just to document, my current thought.